Jemima sat at the riverbank. Her feet dipped lazily into the cool, rippling water. For once, there were no baskets of laundry by her side, no dripping blankets to wring, no heavy sighs of exhaustion. The day was too beautiful to waste on chores. The sun hung like a golden pen in the sky, casting a warm glow over the trees, making the river shimmer like spilled diamonds. The gentle breeze teased the edges of her headscarf, whispering secrets from distant places. She tilted her face to the sky, closed her eyes, and surrendered to a daydream. In her mind, she wasn't Jemima the village girl. She was Madame Jemima, wife of a city tycoon. She could almost feel the satin robes brushing her skin, the air conditioning cooling her flawless face, the scent of imported perfumes clinging to her wrists. No more fetching water. No more cooking over open flames. No more dusty paths. Her hands would be manicured. Her days filled with tea parties, shopping trips, and compliments. She had heard enough stories from the girls who returned during holidays, how city wives live like queens. They don't even lift a finger, one had said. Even to open a door, there's someone there already doing it. Jemima sighed, the fantasy sweeter than sugarcane. She didn't notice the soft crunch of leaves behind her, nor the figure that had been watching her from the trees. He had seen her before, more than once. She always came here with purpose, to wash, to scrub, to rinse. But today, she was different, serene, vulnerable, beautiful. "I see you've finally taken a break from all that washing," a smooth voice called out, breaking her reverie. Startled, Jemima turned quickly, her heart thudding. A man stood behind her, a stranger. Yet there was something familiar about the calm in his voice and the quiet confidence in his posture. He was unlike anyone she'd ever seen in this village. Tall, well-groomed, his shirt crisply ironed, the scent of cologne lingering in the air like a whispered promise. His wristwatch glinted under the sun, and his shoes were too clean to walk the village paths. Her breath caught. He looked like everything she'd ever dreamed of, and more. She stammered, her voice betraying her nerves. The stranger smiled, aware of the effect he had. He was used to it. Wherever he went, eyes followed. Women paused. Conversations shifted. But this time, something was different. She wasn't just another admirer. She was raw, untouched, the very embodiment of the life he had been told to seek. "I'm Maurice," he said, his tone easy but deliberate. She blinked, her mind spinning as she tried to compose herself. "Jemima," she whispered. "My name is Jemima, sir." He chuckled softly, and something in her chest stirred. Her name on his lips sounded like music, like a spell. For a long moment, the world fell silent. The birds, the river, the wind, they all seemed to fade away as their eyes locked. Neither spoke, neither looked away. And yet, everything was being said in that shared silence. They both felt it, something pulling them closer, something unspoken, an invisible string. Fate, perhaps, or desire masquerading as destiny. In that moment, Jemima thought of her dreams, of city mansions and silk curtains, of waking beside a man like Maurice, of leaving this river and its chores behind forever. Maurice, on the other hand, thought of his father's words. "Marry a village girl. They're grounded. They understand respect. They won't embarrass you like the ones from the city." She was perfect, at least in theory. But beneath the surface, under the stolen glances and held breath, something else lurked. An illusion, a longing, a dangerous fantasy. Because neither of them saw the full picture. They saw what they wanted, what they needed to see. They didn't ask the right questions. Didn't wonder why he was really in the village. Didn't ask who he truly was, or what he was running from. They saw a beginning, but maybe it was a warning. Months later, Jemima sat beside a sparkling blue pool in the backyard of her new home, a mansion tucked away in one of the city's most exclusive estates. A glass of chilled rose balanced between her fingers, the rim kissing her lips now and then as she scrolled lazily through TikTok. The sun was kind to her melanin, and the light wind danced through her perfectly styled wig. She looked every inch the dream she once had. She had made it. Jemima Alonzo, wife of Maurice Alonzo, the man of her dreams, the city husband her village friends only fantasize about. The wedding had been glamorous, a trending topic on Instagram for weeks. Designer gown, diamond ring, a honeymoon in Santorini. Her marriage, so far, looked beautiful. She smiled at a TikTok video of a couple doing a viral dance. "Pretty little baby, I'm so in love with you," the woman sang to her husband, and Jemima giggled to herself. "I have to do this trend with Maurice," she murmured, already picturing the likes and comments. Just then, she heard footsteps. She turned, heart lifting. Maurice walked toward her in his tailored white shirt, sleeves rolled up and sunglasses perched on his nose. She stood quickly, her smile brightening like a child seeing candy. "Oh, my husband," she cooed, spreading her arms. "Aren't you a sight for sore eyes?" But he didn't return the smile. His jaw tightened. He looked around at the pristine pool, the wine glass on the second table, the phone playing videos, then back at her. "I asked you one thing," he said quietly. Jemima blinked. "What?" "I texted you. Told you I was bringing my business partners over for drinks this evening. You saw it." "I didn't," Jemima replied. "Of course you didn't." His voice sharpened now. "Jemima, it's been 3 months. This house is never clean. There are dishes in the sink, clothes still in laundry baskets, floors untouched. And every day, you're either by this pool, shopping, or dancing for strangers on your phone." She stiffened. "I didn't know you were keeping score." "I wasn't," he said. "Until now. When was the last time you cooked for us? The last time you held a broom in your hands?" For months, Maurice had been silent, watching, waiting. He convinced himself she just needed time to adjust, that the transition from village life to city luxury might be overwhelming, that she would grow into this new world with grace. But nothing changed. No effort, no initiative, just glamour and filters. Jemima stared at him, stunned into silence. "You wanted a city life, Jemima. You got it," Maurice said, his tone controlled but cold. "But marriage isn't vacation. And I'm not just here to be your TikTok partner." He turned and walked back inside. Jemima stood frozen, the wind ruffling her robe as the TikTok continued playing softly beside her. The wine tasted sour now, and for the first time in months, she noticed the silence in her grand home and the mess behind its doors. She had gotten the dream, but maybe, just maybe, she wasn't ready for reality. Maurice sat slouched at the corner of a dimly lit bar, nursing the bottom of a half-empty bottle of vodka. His tie hung loose around his neck, and his eyes were bloodshot, fixed on nothing. The hum of low jazz filled the room, but all he heard was a thundering silence of disappointment. "Marry a girl from a village," he muttered bitterly to himself, swaying slightly as he poured another glass. "They said she'd be humble, grounded, grateful. But where has that got me?" He downed the shot, slamming the glass onto the counter. "No warm food when I come home. No clean house. Just takeout containers and excuses. That bad hut." The voice was soft, smooth, silk-laced with danger. Maurice turned sluggishly, and beside him sat a striking woman in a crimson suit, tailored to perfection. Her curly hair framed her face like a painting, and her red lipstick curled into a confident smile. Everything about her screamed elegance, money, and trouble. "Excuse you?" he asked, surprised. "Oh, don't be like that," she said, resting her elbow on the bar and leaning in. "Tell me more about your not-so-good marriage. I promise I won't judge." He hesitated, but her presence was magnetic. Her eyes locked onto his with intensity that felt like safety wrapped in temptation. And so he talked, at first reluctantly. Then everything came tumbling out. His frustrations, the weight of carrying the marriage alone, the disappointment of dreams unfulfilled. She listened, laughed when appropriate, touched his hand just once. The night melted around them. Meanwhile, across town, Jemima lay in bed staring at the ceiling, her eyes wide open. The house smelled of fried chicken and freshly baked rolls. The living room sparkled. The laundry was folded and tucked away. She had done it all. Finally, he'll come home and see. He'll be proud. Maybe he'll hold me again. She glanced at the clock. 12:47 a.m. She reached for her phone. Dialed again. No answer. No text. Nothing. Back at the bar, Maurice stood and staggered toward the exit, barely holding his balance. "I'll drop you off," he mumbled to the woman, whose name he now knew as Misha. She raised an eyebrow. "You? In the state?" "No, sir. You're coming with me. I'll drive to my place. You'll sleep it off, and tomorrow when you're sober, you can head home." Too tired to argue, Maurice nodded and handed her the keys. They drove in silence through the night streets, the city glowing gold and cold outside the windows. As soon as they arrived, Maurice collapsed onto the couch in her apartment and slipped into unconsciousness. Misha sat beside him for a moment, watching his chest rise and fall. Just then, her phone rang. She answered casually. "Friend?" The voice on the other end was familiar. Her online friend. Someone she'd met once and had yet to officially introduce to her husband. "What do you mean he's not home this time?" Misha asked, her expression tightening. A pause. The friend continued, her voice firm but worried. "Ish girl, you better change. Start taking care of your man. City girls don't play fair. They'll take him from right under your nose." Misha's fingers tightened around the phone. "Cook, clean, do something. It's not even that hard. Stop following these internet slay queens who tell you to act like a trophy and never lift a finger." The call ended. Men are dogs, she thought to herself. He's probably cheating on her already. She stared at Maurice, now fast asleep in her bed. Such a man abandoned by a foolish girl who doesn't know what she has. She stood, slipped off her heels, and turned off the light, sliding under the covers beside him. She smiled in the dark. Whoever had thrown away this man? Tough on her, she was determined to claim him. The following morning, Jemima woke up to a cold, empty space beside her. Maurice still hadn't returned. Her heart sank. Had she really lost him? Panic gripped her as she jumped out of bed. She hurried to tidy the house, scrubbing and sweeping like her life depended on it. She cooked his favorite meal, jollof rice with grilled chicken and plantains, and set out carefully, every detail perfect. Then she sat quietly, waiting, ears straining for the sound of the gate. Meanwhile, Maurice stirred awake in an unfamiliar room. His head pounded lightly, the memory of the night before foggy and scattered. But there was one thing he recognized instantly, the intoxicating scent of Misha's perfume. The scent became real as Misha stepped into the room, balancing a tray of food. Her red suit had been replaced by a casual silk robe, yet she still looked effortlessly elegant. "Morning," she said sweetly, placing the tray on the bedside table. Maurice sat up awkwardly, rubbing the back of his neck. Hey, I think I should just go eat at home." Misha chuckled, crossing her arms. "Oh, come on, don't be silly. Dig in. I doubt your wife even noticed you didn't come home. Probably busy scrolling through TikTok with a filter on her face." Maurice hesitated, but the aroma hit him, eggs, fried yam, spiced sausages, and something inside him softened. It had been so long since he'd woken up to a fresh, lovingly prepared breakfast. Against his better judgment, he picked up a fork. As he took the first bite, a quiet hum of satisfaction escaped him. "Thank you," he said, almost surprised by the words coming out of his mouth. Misha leaned against the doorframe, smiling. "You're welcome." He glanced at the clock. "I should get going." She walked over and kissed his cheek lightly. "Okay," she whispered, "but don't be a stranger." As he left, Misha stood watching him, a knowing smile playing on her lips. Back home, Jemima sat at the table, eyes on the untouched plate of food, growing cold by the second. She still didn't know he'd already eaten. Minutes later, the door creaked open and Maurice stumbled into the house, the scent of alcohol still clinging to him like a second skin. His eyes barely scanned the spotless living room, nor did he comment on the delicious aroma wafting from the kitchen. It was everything he had once longed to come home to. Only now, it didn't move him. "Morning," he mumbled flatly, making a beeline for the bedroom. Jemima rushed after him, her heart pounding. "I was waiting all night," she said, her voice trembling. "What happened?" Maurice didn't even turn to look at her. "I passed out at a friend's place," he replied, his tone casual cold. "Oh, okay," she said, trying to hold on to hope. "I made your favorite. Jollof rice, grilled chicken. It's still hot." "I'm good," he said, pulling off his shoes. "I already ate." The words landed like a slap. Jemima's lips parted, but no sound came out. Her eyes searched his face, sensing something was off. Something deeper than exhaustion or a hangover. Something he wasn't saying. "Okay," she whispered, "but we need to talk. Actually, I have something I need to say." Maurice looked at her now, finally, but his eyes were blank, drifting uninterested. "I'm sorry," she began, voice cracking. "I haven't been the wife you needed me to be. I got carried away with nonsense, social media, distractions. I neglected you. I know that now." She paused, trying to steady herself, then continued with tears brimming in her eyes. "I promise, I'll change. I'll do better. I want to honor the vows I made to you on our wedding day. Please, just give me a chance." Maurice stared at her in silence. For a fleeting moment, guilt pierced through him. He remembered the woman he had chosen. A village girl, modest and kind, exactly what his father had advised. This was supposed to be his peace, his home. But then Misha's image filled his mind, graceful, confident, worldly. She had understood him with no effort at all. She had fed him, comforted him, made him feel seen. And now, Jemima's tear-streaked face looked like a scene from a distant life he no longer wanted. He didn't say a word. He just sat there, the silence loud between them. And Jemima, she felt the shift. She knew she had already lost him. Jemima walked out to the pool in silence, her footsteps slow, her heart heavier than it had ever been. She sat on the edge, staring into the water's still surface before picking up her phone and dialing the only person who came to mind, her online friend Misha. "Girl, are you okay?" Misha's voice came through, filled with concern. Jemima sniffled, holding back the wave of emotion. "I think I've lost him," she whispered. "He just got back home, but it's like he's not really here. He barely looked at me. I didn't mean to become this kind of wife. Misha, I got swept up in this whole soft life fantasy. I thought marriage would be different, easier." On the other end, Misha sat still, her heart tugged by the sadness in Jemima's voice. She hadn't expected to feel such a connection to someone she'd only known online. But pain, especially a woman's pain, was universal. "Why don't you come over?" Misha offered gently. "Just take a breather. Give him space. You don't have to be alone right now. I'll send you my address." Jemima hesitated for only a second before nodding, even though Misha couldn't see her. "Thank you," she murmured. Moments later, she told Maurice she was going to see a friend, grabbed her handbag, and left the house. Meanwhile, Misha stood in her apartment, distracted. She'd been trying to clean, to read, to eat, anything, but her mind kept circling back to Maurice. His face, his deep, tired eyes, the way he'd opened up to her like no man ever had. Vulnerable, honest, real. He wasn't like most men, and something about him stuck with her. A knock at the door pulled her out of her thoughts. She opened it, and there was Jemima. The two women embraced tightly, the kind of hug that felt like shared survival. "It's okay," Misha whispered as she held her. "He'll come around. You just need time to find each other again." Jemima pulled back, wiping her face with the back of her hand. "This is so embarrassing," she said with a weak laugh. "We've only ever spoken online, and now I'm crying on your doorstep like some soap opera character." Misha smiled. "We're friends, aren't we? That's what friends are for." And just like that, the air between them softened. They moved to the couch, kicked off their shoes, and spent the afternoon the way only heartbroken women can, laughing between tears, binging on junk food, and sharing stories they hadn't told anyone else. Two women, one man, no idea what fate had in store for them. Meanwhile, Maurice sat in his car, engine off, eyes fixed on the quiet apartment building in front of him, Misha's apartment. He hadn't meant to drive there, but somehow his hands had a mind of their own. His thoughts had been circling her all morning, the way she listened, the softness in her smile, the way she made him feel seen. He ran a hand down his face, sighed, then finally stepped out of the car. Standing before her door, he hesitated. For the first time in years, he felt nervous. Then he knocked. The door opened swiftly, and there she was, Misha. Her eyes widened in disbelief, then softened instantly. A bright, involuntary smile spread across her face. Before he could say a word, she threw her arms around him. "I didn't think you'd come," she whispered, voice laced with genuine joy. Maurice gazed into her eyes, his hands resting gently on her waist. "I couldn't stay away," he admitted. "I can't get you out of my mind." Misha blushed, the air between them thick with unspoken longing. "What about your wife?" she asked cautiously. He paused, then spoke with a heaviness that had been building for months. "It's complicated. I married her because it's what my father believed a wife should be. Quiet, traditional, from the village. But now I see, I never followed my own heart. If I had, I'd never have chosen her." Misha's heart raced. His words were everything she hadn't dared to hope for. "So, where does that leave us?" she asked, voice trembling slightly. Maurice took her hands in his. "I'm done with my wife. It's you and me now, if you're willing to hold my hand and walk this road with me." She nodded slowly, her face glowing. "I am." They embraced again, a new, dangerous bond forming between them. Then Misha pulled back, beaming. "Come in," she said, leading him into the apartment. "I want you to meet someone very special to me." They stepped into the living room. Jemima sat on the couch, legs tucked beneath her, sipping from a mug. She looked up, smiling, until her eyes met Maurice's. The mug slipped from her hand, shattering on the floor. "Maurice?" she whispered, voice cracking. Maurice stood frozen in place. His throat went dry. "Jemima?" Misha looked between them, confusion swirling into slow horror. "Wait, you two know each other?" she asked, voice suddenly small. Jemima's hands trembled as she stood. Her world had just shattered, and for a moment, time stood still. 3 hearts, 1 betrayal, and a secret none of them had seen coming. "That's my husband. What is he doing here?" Jemima finally whispered, her voice barely audible, almost trembling. Her eyes darted from Maurice to Misha, then back again, searching for an explanation, something, anything, that made this moment make sense. "Do you two know each other?" Misha stood frozen, her breath caught in her throat as the pieces crashed together in her mind. Jemima's late-night phone calls, the crying over a husband who didn't come home, the perfume, the familiarity, the vulnerable man from the bar, and now this man, Maurice, the man she had spent the night with, the one she had let herself believe might be her future. Reality slammed into her like a truck. I didn't know," she muttered, but even she didn't know if it was a Jemima or herself. Maurice glanced between them, his chest tightening. He could feel Misha slipping. He had to act. "Now, Jemima, I'm sorry," he said, stepping forward. "I never meant for it to happen like this, but you need to hear the truth." Jemima's eyes filled with tears, but she stood still, waiting. "I married you because I thought it was the right thing to do. My father always said a good wife comes from the village. Quiet, respectful, obedient. You fit the mold. But it wasn't love. Not real love." Jemima gasped, staggering slightly, her face contorted in disbelief. Misha's face slowly brightened. He was choosing her, out loud, in front of his wife. She wasn't just a moment of weakness. He meant it. "I'm sorry," Maurice continued, "but I love Misha." "What do you mean you love her?" Jemima's voice cracked as she screamed. "You just met her. You don't know her." She turned to Misha, eyes pleading. "Say something, please." Misha stared at Jemima. Her heart pounded, guilt flickering for a moment, but she pushed it aside. "I love him," she said coldly. "I'm sorry, friend." The word friend stung more than the betrayal itself. Jemima's face fell completely, like a candle snuffed out in a dark room. "I don't understand," she whispered, as if speaking to herself. "Is this because I neglected my duties as a wife?" The room went still. Maurice shifted uncomfortably. "No, but, yeah, it helped me realize this was never love. Silence. Jemima nodded slowly, blinking away the tears, swallowing the pain. "Okay," she said. And just like that, she turned and walked out the door. No shouting, no drama, just silence. Misha and Maurice stood there, stunned. "She'll get over it," Misha said quietly, trying to mask the unease in her voice. But Maurice didn't respond. Something in him stirred, something unsettled, a quiet voice in the back of his mind. Would she really get over it? Jemima sat alone in her car, parked at the far end of the park, her body trembling with every sob. The image of Maurice and Misha, her friend, holding each other, laughing like she had never mattered, seared into her mind. "I'm sorry, friend." Those words echoed relentlessly, each repetition another knife to her heart. Her breathing grew uneven. Rage blurred her vision. She gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, then suddenly released it. Slowly, purposefully, she stepped out and opened the trunk. Inside, a jerrycan. Minutes later, she was back outside Misha's apartment. Her expression was blank, eerily calm, like something in her had finally snapped. She circled the house, dousing it with gasoline. Her footsteps were methodical, controlled, as if she'd rehearsed it all before. She paused at the front steps, struck a match. "You broke me," she whispered it into the flame, then tossed it. The fire caught instantly like it had been waiting. Satisfied, Jemima got back into her car and drove away, not once looking back. Inside, Misha and Maurice were curled up on the couch. A soft romantic movie played in the background. They were laughing, sharing popcorn, oblivious to the inferno inching toward them. "Do you smell that?" Maurice asked, sniffing the air. Misha sat up, frowning. "What is that?" Then the windows exploded inwards. Flames roared into the living room. "Get to the back!" Maurice shouted. They ducked and crawled, choking on smoke. Maurice led the way, eyes darting for an exit, but every door blazed with fire. The house creaked and groaned like it was screaming. In the kitchen, he spotted a ceiling vent. "Help me move this table," he yelled. Together, they shoved it beneath the vent. Maurice climbed up and punched through the ceiling until light poured in. Then he turned to Misha. "Climb on my back. Reach the ceiling. When you get on the roof, jump. Don't wait for me." "No, I'm not leaving without you," she cried. "We don't have time, Misha. The roof is going to give in." He hoisted her up. Misha struggled, but managed to pull herself onto the roof. She turned, leaning down. "Take my hand." Maurice looked up, eyes full of love, but also finality. "I love you," he said, voice cracking through the smoke. Then he pushed her hand away. "Jump." Misha sobbed, hesitated, then leapt from the roof just as the structure beneath her caved in. The flames swallowed the household. She landed hard on the ground, rolling into the dirt, her body scraped and bruised. Behind her, the roof collapsed in a deafening crash. Maurice was gone. The fire brigade arrived minutes after the neighbors' frantic calls, but the flames had already consumed the house. They found Misha outside, crumpled on the lawn, trembling and covered in soot. Her cries were incoherent. Her eyes were locked on the inferno. She kept whispering his name. "Maurice, Maurice." Paramedics rushed her to hospital. Minor burns, smoke inhalation, a concussion from the fall, but she was alive. At the hospital, her statement was taken. She recounted everything through tears, pausing each time Morris's name left her lips. The police listened carefully, piecing together the story. Meanwhile, in a small, dimly lit apartment across town, Jemima sat in silence. Her hands shook. Her eyes were red and swollen. She hadn't slept. Her phone buzzed with news alerts. Man presumed dead in suspicious house fire. But she couldn't bring herself to read them. What had she done? She buried her face in her hands, rocking back and forth. Her mind spiraled. She hadn't meant for anyone to die. She just snapped. The betrayal had unraveled something deep inside her. But was she any better? She had married Maurice for status, for the comfort she thought he represented. Love came later. Maybe it was just attachment, dependence, fantasy. "I was wrong," she whispered to herself. About him? About me? For the first time, she admitted it. Maurice had never truly been hers. And now he was gone. She fell to her knees and prayed, desperate, broken words. God, please, let them survive. Let him survive. I didn't mean it. I didn't want this. But deep down, she knew. It was too late. Sirens pierced the night. Blue and red lights flooded her apartment. There was no knock, just a loud, authoritative voice outside the door. Jemima Alonzo, this is the police. We have a warrant for your arrest. She froze. Time stopped. She looked around the apartment, realizing she had nowhere to go, no one to call. The dream life she chased was now a nightmare, and it was all her doing. The door burst open. Officers rushed in. She didn't fight. She didn't speak. She just stared, hollow and numb. As they cuffed her, one officer gently asked, "Was it worth it?" Jemima said nothing. She lowered her head and let the tears fall freely. Weeks later, Jemima sat behind bars, awaiting trial. Her heart ached, not just from loss, but from the weight of choices made in jealousy and rage. Misha stood by Morris's grave, a bouquet of white lilies in her trembling hands. The wind whispered through the trees as tears rolled silently down her cheeks. She didn't speak. There were no words left, just pain, memories, and love that came too late. As she turned to leave, her eyes caught a small boy placing flowers on a grave nearby. She walked over gently. "Who's that for?" she asked. "My mom," the boy said softly. "She always said real love means doing the right thing, even when it hurts." Misha knelt beside him, her heart aching. She took a deep breath and looked at the horizon where the first light of dawn broke through the gray sky. That moment stirred something inside her. Later that month, she founded a support center for women healing from loss and betrayal. She named it the Second Light, in honor of Maurice and the lesson he unknowingly taught her. Love should never be born out of someone else's ruin. In love, choose truth and kindness over fantasy. The heart is powerful, but when misled by desperation or revenge, it becomes a weapon. Heal before you love, or you risk turning beauty into ashes. Thank you for watching.